ano pa lang niya, ngayon pa lang, ngayong semester. So, pwede siyang may recording ba kahapon kay Sir Albert. Sa organizer yun eh. Sino bang taga-GPS sa inyo? O
Wala
ba,
po.
Denise? Oo.
Hindi po, sir eh. Pero alam ko po meron.
Pero
Meron
yun,
po nag-record.
kunin mo kay Rizky, ano? Kunin mo kay Patricia Asoy. Kilala mo ba si Pat Asoy? Yan. Ayan. May recording yun sigurado. Ayun na lang sa, sa JPA. Malamang.
Nasa GC, alam ko, sir. Sinendin po, if I'm
Sino?
not mistaken.
Jersey. Ito si Jersey. Tanong mo si Jersey. May ano ba yung Jersey? Mayroon bang recording?
Recording po ng ano po, sir.
Yung kahapon?
Ay, hindi ko po sure.
Hindi ko
I-ask
sure.
ko po, yung mga head.
Tanong mo si Jan Molina.
Sige, sir. Ask ko po
Diba?
siya.
Oo.
Send ko na lang po sa GC natin, sir, if meron.
Yan. Oo. Sige, hintayin natin yung iba. Alas 7 na pala. Sige, today, what I will discuss is all about standard costing. So, isa din itong pinakamabigat. Tama ba? Tama ba, Denise, Jersey, no? In your cost accounting. Okay? Pag sinabing cost accounting, tatlo yan. Job order, process costing, saka standard costing. Alright. By the way, kailan ba ang ating exam? First week of June. Tama ba? Titingnan ko ha. Para i-ready na
Sa
natin.
7? Sa 7 po.
June 7, di ba? May 31 onwards. Okay. So, kung may 31 onwards ang ating, may time pa ba tayo? May time pa naman tayo.
May 31, sir.
May 31. Okay. So, may time pa naman. So, we have 2 meetings. So, today, sige, we will discuss about, sige, isa muna ngayon, para ayaw ko kasi kayong, gusto kong hiwalayin yung accounting for overhead. Or, sorry, standard costing for overhead. Today, what I will discuss is only standard costing for materials and labor. Yan na muna, no? Baka ma-overwhelm kayo sa formulas. Alright, yan na muna. Ito na muna gagawin natin para at least by next meeting on Monday, I will discuss 1-way, 2-way, 3-way, 4-way. Kasi madaming formulas. Sabihin ko sa inyo, madaming formulas in terms of standard costing. Okay? Okay lang ba yan? O gusto nyo ngayon na kaagad? Okay lang naman sa akin. Or gusto nyo 1 by 1 lang? Gaya ng ginawa ko
Sir,
sa
1 by
process
1.
costing. 1 by 1 lang. Okay.
Ano
Sige.
kayo?
Oo. Pero kahapon, 'di ba? 'Di ba Denise, no? Grabe, discuss ko pala cost concept. Mag-CVP tayo. Tapos
Job
nag-job
order.
order. Tapos
Process
process
costing.
costing. 4 pala, no? 4 pala. Dapat 5 dapat 'yun eh. Kailangan wala tayong oras. Standard costing talaga mahaba 'to. Alright, sige. Alright, sige. Standard costing. And for me, gusto ko to kay Wiley, promise. Madami ito kasi matagal na to sa akin, no? Nung bumili ako ng libro, may kasama siyang CD. Yan. Tapos yung CD, ito yung laman. For me, ginagamit ko na to. 'Di ba? Madali siyang maintindihan, 'di ba? Kasi niyo ba? Denise, or hindi? Madali ba intindihin to compare sa iba?
Sir, yung ano po ulit?
Yung PowerPoint ko, madaling intindihin.
Yes, sir. Mas mas
Kasi
straightforward.
kasi galing to kay Wiley. Pag ako bumibili ng libro, may kasamang may kasamang CD, tapos yung CD niya may kasamang PowerPoint. So ito na, 'di ba? Medyo mahal nga lang. Pero okay lang, at least
Ano?
More
Sorry, delayed yan.
2,000 eh.
Ay, okay,
Mga
sorry.
2,500. Medyo libro, 'di ba? Ang libro lang, 400, 500, 'di ba? So okay lang. Ito at least meron na meron na siyang PowerPoint. Alright, sige. Today, what I will discuss is all about standard costing. Alright, so yung budget naman to be discussed, no, if ever I'll be the one to handle you in the management accounting, we will discuss about budget. Pero in the cost accounting is basically standard costing. Okay? Number 2, identify the advantages of the standard costing. Ba't pa kailangan ng standard costing? Pwede naman wala. Okay? And describe how standards are set. All right. How do we set the standards or how do we set the standards cost? Alright, indicate the formulas. Yan. Ito yun, no? Take note of this. There are a lot of formulas in terms of standard costing. Ito ba, Denise? Ito ba ay na-discuss sa inyo ni Miss Mariel?
Sir, wala
Or
po maalala sa standard
nung
costing.
last time? Wala. Kayo, Jersey, naalala niyo to? Na-discuss ba to ni
No,
Miss
sir. Di
Mariel?
ko na-discuss.
Di na, wala nang time. Tama, no?
Opo.
Pero
Kasi,
sir, na-discuss po yung, ano yun, yung just in time. Pero ito sir, hindi ko po maalala.
o nga, meron pa tayo just in time eh. Problema tayo sa oras. Sige. Yung kasing just in time, napakadali lang yan, di ba? Di ba? GIT ba madali lang sa inyo? Hindi.
Oo, nahirapan ako.
Nahirapan
Seriously,
din.
medyo gets ko po yung introduction, pero after nun, hindi na po.
Sige, paano kaya? Problema tayo, we have na lang 2 meetings. Okay lang ba tayo mag-meet? Isang meeting lang tayo. Okay lang ba? Mag-makeup tayo ng isa. Okay lang ba? Okay lang sa akin.
Sir, sa akin okay lang po. Pero makakatulong
Ah,
din po kasi pang
Friday ba
study.
wala kayong pasok? Kahit umaga tayo Friday. Para lang ma-discuss ko yung just in time. Just in time, okay. Sige din. Just in time. Sige, I will just message you na lang, no? Pero pwede ako umaga pala. Pwede ako umaga this week, no? Kasi wala kaming pasok sa Lasal ngayong week kasi sila ay may tinatawag na Independent Online Week. Pwede kayo umaga kahit mga alas 10 or kahit alas 9.
Sir, alam ko
Ah,
po pwede.
pwede
Tapos na po
sige, okay
yung
lang.
class namin sa NSTP, so okay lang po.
Sige. O, kahit ano tayo. Pwede tayo mag-Wednesday. Huwag mo na bukas kasi biglaan. Kahit Wednesday or Thursday. Okay lang. Sige. Yan, sige. Ay, may klase ka. Hindi naman sa Friday. Siguro Wednesday, Teris. Okay lang ba yon? Wednesday or Thursday. Wala kayong pasok. Ikaw, Teris, wala kang pasok.
Sir,
Oh,
Thursday po meron ako.
Thursday. Wednesday na tayo. Wednesday. Wednesday ba
Sir,
wala? Wait po, meron din. Wednesday po meron. Sige. Anong oras yung available niyo na lang? Sige. Hapon, pwede kayo. Hapon na lang siguro. Sabado po, sir, or Friday ng hapon. Sabado hindi ako pwede. May klase din ako. Pwede yung Friday ng hapon. Okay lang. Friday hapon. Hapon na Friday, pwede kayo? Okay, sige. Mga siguro 1 to 4. Pwede ba yun? Friday, 1 to 4? Okay, sige. Friday. Kasi we have 2 meetings. We have two, ano pa, just in time and joint cost. Joint and byproduct. Okay? Yan. Yun lang, sige. Kasi yun ano ko, di ba? Dennis, sabi ko may isa pang dinadiscuss. Yung joint cost pa. Okay, sige lang. Anyway, sige. But today, what I will discuss is all about, don't worry, I will not give any more quiz, no? Kasi wala tayong time. For me lang naman is gusto ko malaman niyo yung concept. Don't worry, in an exam, bibigay ko lang yung pinakamadali. No? Okay lang. For me, gusto ko malaman niyo about the concept. Okay? So, in your quiz is basically pinaka-basic lang about the formula. What time po sa Friday? 1 to 4, Brits? Yan. Sige. Pag hindi kayo available, may recording naman. So, I will give you the recording. Okay? Sige. Sunod ka na lang. Okay? Yan. Alright. Sige. Anyway. Sige. But today, what I will focus is more on the formulas in terms of direct materials and direct labor. Alright. Yung number 5, the overhead cost will be discussed naman on Monday. Okay? So, we will meet on Friday and Monday. Alright. And of course, pag sinabi kasing standard costing is very important is to discuss the reporting variances. Alright. Also, identify the features of the standard cost accounting system. Alright. Yan. So, ito yung mamaya, we will discuss this all. Alright. Why we need to have standard costing? Sige nga, Patrick. Why we need to have standard costing? Pwede naman wala tayong standard costing. Ba't kailangan pa natin ng standard costing? Sige nga. Wala. Denise, why we need to have standard costing? Okay lang, ini-guess. Hindi naman, wala naman mali or tama. Wala naman maling answer. Sige.
I think po kasi it will help po sa maybe planning decisions and how
Yes.
maybe how to also
So,
measurement then yung proper measurement ng
mm-mm.
cost and ano man
So,
yun. So,
yeah,
yun
yes.
po.
So it will help you in terms of financial planning. Yes, financial planning. No, at the same time for proper decision making. Yes. All right. Ano chat? Brits. Para po to compare the actual cost and expected po. Yes. Because Brits, no, that's basically your variance analysis. No, to set your standard costing, meaning the budget per unit and your actual cost. Yes, also tama din, Teres, no, to establish your cost. Alright, from the word itself, pag sinabing standard costing, should be cost. Alright, parang ganun lang yan. No? Parang sa buhay nyo, di ba? Ah, ang binigay sa iyo ng baon ng magulang nyo ay 100 pesos per day. So meaning should be cost or should be budget per unit is 100 pesos per day. Yan. So if your actual cost is 80 pesos, of course you have a 20 pesos variance. Meaning favorable or unfavorable, 'di ba? It is a favorable. Bakit? You have a budget per unit of 100, nagastos mo lang ay 80, may savings ka na 20, tama ba? That's basically a favorable. So later, no? I will discuss more about standard costing. Alright. Standard costing, yon, the norm, the common business, or the common in business, imposed in terms of the government agencies, they're called regulations. So, in the management accounting, pag sinabing standard costing are predetermined unit cost which are used to measure your performance. Alright. Alam nyo ba? Di naman sa mamayabang ha. Alam nyo ba? Because of our talk last time. Alam nyo ba? Meron ba dito wala sa inyo. Alam niyo ba may apat sa inyo, may apat sa first year ang nag-enroll sa Advanced Review Solutions. Tinanong ko sila, ba't kayo nag-enroll? No? Considering na first year pa lang kayo. Sabi niya, hindi sir, parang naniniwala kasi kami sa'yo. Pangalawa, because parang natuto kami kaagad, no? Yung pa, zero base pa kasi. Yan, so, wala lang, nagulat lang ako kasi kahapon. Ah, kahapon ay sila ay enrolled na sa advanced. They just pay 500 pesos. Yan. They just pay 500 and then the balance sa June na, sa June. Yan. Wala lang, na ano lang, nakakataba ng puso, 'di ba? Nakaka-overwhelm, 'di ba, Denise? 'Di ba, Teres na?
Congrats, sir.
Oh, yun. Wala lang. Yan. Yun nga, because that's standard costing. Standard cost. So, predetermined unit costs. Yan. Alright. So next, the focus of this standard costing is basically, of course, to manufacture or the manufacturing standards should be cost per unit. Alright. Ano pa kakaiba niya sa budget? Oh, yan. So budget to be discussed in your management accounting. So if ever I'll be the one to handle you in the management accounting, we will discuss about budget. Alright. Kaya ano pa kakaiba ng dalawa? So malamang pag kayo ay na-handle ni Sir Bariso, kasi ang ano lang yun, dalawa lang naman ako or Sir Bariso. Alright. So, pag sinabing standard cost is basically a unit amount or meaning standards per unit. While budget naman is basically a total budget. Alright. So, alimbawa, pamasahe mo ay 50 pesos. That's the per unit. Yeah? 50 pesos per packs. 50 pesos in one way. Okay? So, uwian, 100 pesos. That's the per unit. Alright, the total naman, if you add both, 50 plus 50, you have a 100. That would be your total. Yan, ganun lang yun ha. Okay? Para lang matindihan nyo lang yung basic. Okay? Alright, standard cost is concerned with each individual cost component that makes up the entire budget. So if you add all your standard costing, if you add the per unit standard costing, you have now your entire budget. Okay? Because the standard cost is basically the per unit amount, while budget naman is basically the total amount. Alright. So standard costing may be incorporated into the cost accounting system. Kaya nga hindi ko na alam kung bakit dapat kasama to sa discussion nyo ni Miss Mariel about standard. Baka nakulangan kayo sa oras. That's the reason why you have no time to discuss about standard costing. Pero for me, pag sinabi kasing cost accounting, dapat kaya inuna ko muna yung standard costing kasi baka hindi tayo ma-discuss, no? Marami na tayo mag-exam. Kasi pag sinabing standard costing, job order costing yan, process costing yan, saka standard costing yan. Alright. Alright. Identify naman what would be the advantages in terms of standard costing. All right. So, of course, number one, it facilitate the management planning. Yes. So, if you have a proper planning, you can be able to set your standard costing. What else? They promote greater economy by making employees more cost conscious. Diba? Tama ba, Jersey, no? Ang baon ko lang ay 100
Yes po.
pesos. Diba? Kailangan 100 lang dapat ang aking ano, kailangan 100 lang dapat ang aking ang aking gagastusin, no? Sabi ng Teresa, sir, so safe po ba? Sir, to safe to say po ba na budget is the sum of all? Yes, tama. Diba yung kanina? Tama, Teresa. Diba kanina, diba? Ito yan, no? Diba ito yan? If you have,
Opo.
diba ito yung Teresa? Yan. The standard cost is concerned with each individual cost component that makes up the entire budget. Yan. So if you sum up all the standard costing, that would be your budget. Yan. Okay? So yan. Again, pag ikaw ay cost conscious kasi alam mo na mayroon kang budget per unit, 'di ba? Yan. So kasi pag hindi ka makakauwi, 'di ba? Yan yung ibig sabihin, no? That you are a cost conscious. Okay lang, Tiri. Sige, okay lang. Alright. Number three, they are useful. Yun. Of course, if you have your standard cost per unit, alam mo na din kung magkano yung should be. 'Di ba? Alam mo yung magkano, alam mo kung how much would be your should be unit, no? Should be cost. And of course, after that, you can set up now your selling price. No? So, yun yung ibig sabihin ng because of the standard cost unit, you can be able to set up your selling price. What else? Okay. Wait lang. Ba't ayaw mag-charge to? Okay. Kasi ayaw mag-charge. Lobat na ako. Anyway, next. Yan. Of course, to set up your selling price if you have your standard cost per unit. Number four, they contribute to the management control by providing basis for the evaluation of your cost control. Yes, if you will evaluate or if you will control or sorry, if you evaluate the cost, you can be able naman to provide basis, di ba? For your management control. Okay? They are useful in highlighting. Yan. Pag sinabing standard costing, hindi na mawawala, 'di ba, Jersey, Janice, Patrick, hindi na mawawala ang variance analysis. Later, no, we will compute for the variance analysis. All right? Next, they simplify the costing of inventories and reduce the clerical cost. Yan. So, ito yung reason kung bakit very important is your standard costing. All right. Uh, Next question naman, how do we set naman standard costing? Alright, so how do we set that? Okay, of course, sabi nila, yes, it is very difficult talaga. Very difficult uh, to set up the standard costing. Okay? Setting up the standard costing inputs from all the persons who are responsible for the cost and the quantity. So meaning, if you are the purchasing department, uh, you can be able to set up your cost per unit. Napakahirap na, no? Lahat ng detalye mo ay kailangan mong i-check. Okay? Yeah, to be effective daw in terms of controlling the cost, standard costing need to be current at all times. Yes. The standard costing should be under continuous review and should be changed whenever to be determined in terms of not good measure for performance. Alam niyo ba sa San Miguel, when I was still at San Miguel, meron kaming standard cost per unit. Ano 'yan? Pag kami nag-drive, no, kasi ako yung authorized driver ng San Miguel, no, may gasoline kami. So ang gasoline mo dapat if I remember 2,500, no. So depende yan sa kilometer. All right. So and then after that, kami ay may toll fee. Yan, may toll fee din. And then, may meals kami niyan, may meals. So, pag breakfast, 120 per head. Pag lunch naman, 150. Tumataas na. Then pag dinner, 250. Tumataas talaga kasi pag dinner doon, madami kinakain. Yan. So meaning, yan yung standard cost mo. Should be cost mo. Dapat 120 lang yung breakfast mo. Dapat hindi ka lalagpas sa 120. Pag lumagpas ka doon, may variance ka. Kailangan mong i-explain sa boss mo ba't ka lumagpas. 'Di ba? Lamon yung lamon, 'di ba, Denise, no? Ang dami mong kinain. Pero alam mo ba, madami din audit findings. Alam mo kung bakit, Teres? Kung bakit may mga audit findings diyan? Kasi breakfast mo 120, pero ang resibo mo ay 250. Bakit? Yung pala ay may kasama ka. Yan. So, meaning mali yun, ha? Dapat ikaw lang. Okay? Kasama mo yung asawa mo or mali yun, no? Dapat ikaw lang yung kumain. Kasi ikaw lang yung empleyado ng San Miguel. Tama ba? Tama, Alessandro? Yan. So, meaning, you need to be able to set up the cost per unit. Dapat daw, you should be current at all times. Pag kami naman ay inabutan sa biyahe, let's say, punta kami ng Bicol, tapos hindi nakaabot papunta ng Laguna, so may lodging kami. Alright. So, if I remember pa, I think 2,000 to 3,000 per night yon. Okay? Yan. Yung pala, hindi na updated yon, no? 5,000 na pala ang per night. Alright. So, meaning, paano yon? You need to revise that, Clyde. No? Hello. Narinig ba ako?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So, you need to revise that, no? So, meaning, hindi na pala yan, no? Yung palang 120 na meals mo ay napakaliit na lang pala yan, Tiris, no? Yung pala, ano na lang yan, pandesal na lang. Alright, so meaning, you should be current at all times, diba? You should have a continuous review and should be changed whenever it is determined to be changed. Okay? So, yan. That would be the standard cost per unit. Alright. So what else? So in terms of ideal naman, normal standards. So standards may be set in two levels. So ideal standards, it represents the optimal level of performance under perfect operating conditions. Alright. Sige nga, possible ba to? Possible ba ang ideal standards, Stephanie? Stephanie Nicole. Okay. Possible ba ang sinasabing o tinatawag na ideal standards? Ah, wala si Stephanie. Alright, si James naman, James Antonio. It is possible ba that if you have or if you set your own standard, it should be or it represents ba optimum level of performance under perfect operating conditions? James? Alright. Yes. Alright, sige. Sabi ni James, yes. Perfect na perfect yan. Ideal standards. Oh. How about the others? Okay lang, James. Sira. Okay. Si Bridget Molly. Possible ba that you have an ideal standards? Alright, sabi ni Dane, I don't think so. Possible lang. Sabi ni Brandon. Alright, the answer is not possible. Alright, wala naman perfect, di ba? Okay. So, bakit tayo may tinatawag na you need to update the cost, di ba? Bakit yan current at all times? So, meaning, 'di ba? Capable of changing, 'di ba? So meaning yes, you have an ideal standards pero not possible. So ano yung possible? The possible is the normal standards. So it represents the efficient level of performance that are attainable. The keyword here is attainable under expected operating conditions. So for example, you set budget for 1 million papuntang Mindanao. O, di ba? Parang ano bang bakit 1 million yung i-set mo papuntang Mindanao? Para yung airfare, sabihin natin pinakamalaki na 10,000. O back and forth 20,000, di ba? Kakain ka, mag-hotel ka. How come na it is 1 million? Meaning it is not normal. It is not attainable. Tama ba? So meaning, if you set down your standards, cost per unit dapat ay pag-aaralan nyo. Alright, so, okay. Sabihin natin, magkano ba yung airfare papuntang Zamboanga or Davao? O sabihin natin, 5,000 lang. Okay? So, back and forth, yan ay 5 million. So, 5 million each yan yung salary. Pero pag total na, that would be the budget. Yan. So, meaning, dapat it should be attainable. Yan. Alright. Yan. So, most companies that use standard costing set them at normal level, not an ideal level. Properly set normal standards should be rigorous but attainable. The keyword here is should be attainable. Okay? Should be attainable at all times, especially in terms of your cost accounting. So, sorry, especially in terms of standard costing. Alright. Sige nga, case study. Okay, mano chat. Sir, why po ba may ideal pa if di rin po ma-use? The reason why there's an ideal para lang natin, para lang ma-compare that the standard costing is not perfect. Okay? Parang ano lang yan, parang ideal capacity and normal capacity. Alright. Parang pinakita lang dito na ang ideal capacity ay hindi possible. Kasi nga, machine yan, di ba? Ang machine ay nagbe-breakdown din, di ba? Wala naman, parang tao lang naman yan, di ba? Ang tao ay napapagod din, di ba? So meaning, meron tayong standards wherein na may perfect pero hindi attainable yan. Okay? Okay ba, Brits? Yan. So yun yung reason kung bakit nilagay pa. Parang ano, ba't pa nilagay yung LIFO? Yeah. So FIFO, LIFO, and average, di ba? And you have specific identification. So ba't pa nilagay ng GAAP or ng FRS or the PFRS ang LIFO na hindi naman pala siya required or hindi siya accepted, di ba? Why? Because para lang makita natin na ano yung hindi attainable or ano yung hindi dapat na gawin. Of course, pag LIFO, di ba? Ano mangyayari sa mga una mong nabili? Masisira, di ba? You get the point ba? Alright. Oh, bakit nilagay pa ng PFRS ang cash basis of accounting? Di ba dapat ang accounting is more on accrual basis of accounting? 'Di ba? Pasin niyo? Yan. Yes, pwede naman yung cash basis of accounting but more on the capital budgeting, more on the cash inflow and more on the cash outflow, but not in accounting. You get the point ba, Brits? Okay. Alright, sige. Next. Alright, so again, di ba sinabi ko kahapon sa seminar, pag sinabing cost accounting, that would be your direct materials. Di ba, Denise, sinabi ko ito, di ba kahapon? Direct labor and your manufacturing overhead. No? Introduction to cost accounting man yan. Yan ay job order costing man yan. Cost concept and terms. You have your job order costing. You have your CVP analysis. You have your joint cost and byproduct. And you have your just in time. And ngayon, we are now in the standard costing. Diba? As you notice, saan ba tayo umiikot? Direct materials, direct labor, and your manufacturing overhead. All right. The standard for each element is derived from considerations of the standard price to be paid and the standard quantity to be used. To illustrate, assume that Sonic Incorporated wishes to use standard costing to measure performance in filling the order for 1,000 gallons of WIDO, a liquid weed killer. So, weed killer, meaning ano siya, parang ang tawag doon, yung liquid, so WIDO liquid weed killer. Alright. Okay, so in terms of direct materials, there are basically two, no? Two in terms of computing for standard costing. So you have the direct materials price variance or direct materials price standards. All right. What do you mean of direct materials price standard? So it is the cost per unit of direct materials that should be incurred. So from the word itself, price, direct materials price, that the cost per unit that should be incurred in terms of direct materials. So The standard is based on the purchasing department best estimate of the cost of materials. So, sir, bakit po pag sinabing direct materials price standards, bakit po yan ay sa purchasing? In the first place, sino ba ang bumibili ng materials? 'Di ba ay purchasing department. Tama ba, Jersey? 'Di ba tama, no? Sila ang bumibili
Yes
ng...
po.
Yes, alright. This standard should include an amount for related costs such as receiving, storing, and handling. So, yan. Alright. So, you have also here, so later, I will discuss about direct materials price variance, also about direct materials quantity standard. So, later yan, ha? Alright. What do you naman of quantity? Kanina is more on price, yun naman quantity. Okay? Quantity naman is the quantity of materials that should be used per unit to be used per unit of product. Okay? Uh-huh. All right, sorry. All right. Standard costing naman in terms of from the word itself, quantity. O, paano sir sinasabi na quantity yan? Standard. So meaning should be the quantity. All right. Let's say kailangan mo lang ng 10,000 kilograms of beer sa isang batch ng bote na yan. So, kailangan dapat 10,000 lang na quantity ang kailangan mong ilagay sa machine para magkaroon ng, let's say, 10,000 pieces of San Mig Light. Yan. Should be quantity. Kanina naman, should be the price. That's why it is basically the purchasing department. Meaning, dapat ang presyo niyan per bottle ay 50 pesos. Meaning, price should be the price. Alright. So, kapag quantity naman, should be the quantity. So, ano yung mga standard quantity? Pwedeng physical measure, such as pounds, barrel, foot, kilogram, grams. So, depende yan, ha? Alright. This standard should include allowance for unavoidable waste. Okay, unavoidable. So, di ba na ma-avoid? And normal spoilage. So, meaning, we need also to set up any allowances for normal spoilage. Alright, for example, since you have the direct materials price standard, so meaning yan yung price na dapat mong bilhin, dollar to ha, dollar. Malaki to ha, 3 times 50, mga 150 pesos, di ba? So purchase price, net of discount, you have 2.70. So times 50, mga ano yan, mga 100 pesos. Ade, tama, mga 100 pesos, di ba? Then, of course, pamasahe ka or gasolina or toll, you have freight of 0.20. Of course, mga handling costs, yung mga forklift costs, yung mga receiving clerk na cost niya per ano to ha, per weed killer to ha, you have 0.10. So magkano yung standard direct materials price per pound mo? 3 pesos. So in every pound, you have 3 pesos as part of your direct materials. So that's basically your direct materials price standard. All right, next. And how about naman in terms of direct quantity standards? So in every standards, dapat daw yung required ano mo, yung required quantity mo. So dapat in every pound you have, in every required materials you have 3.5 pounds. Okay? In every allowance for waste you have zero point 0.4. In every allowance for spoilage you have zero point 0.1. That's basically a 4.0 quantity pounds. Okay? Wait lang ha. Baka makalimutan kong ano. Sure lang. Kasi baka kasi makalimutan. Sorry ha. 5 minutes lang to. Sorry, yan. So meaning you have your direct materials price standards and you have also direct quantity. Okay lang ba ano? Inom na ako ng tubig, parang nakakauhaw, no? Kuya din ba?
Sir.
Grabe. Sobrang init ngayon, no? Wait lang. Kuha lang ako ng tubig. Sabi, no? Sabi init. Wait, 2 minutes lang.
Sige po, sir.
Sorry. Kuha lang ako ng tubig. Grabe. Yes, I'm thirsty. Sa inyo rin ba? Sobrang init. Hello.
Opo, sir.
Di kaya ng aircon eh, no?
Oo nga po eh.
Grabe. Talagang dapat late na yung ano, no? Late na yung ano tawag doon? Late na yung summer. Dapat nung April pa to eh. 'Di ba? Anyway. Yan. So after that, you have now your standard cost per unit. So after that, if you multiply the standard per unit and also the standard quantity, that's basically your standard direct material cost per unit. So basically, the formula here naman is standard direct materials cost per unit is the standard direct material price. Yung kanina, you multiply it by the standard direct materials quantity. Okay? So meaning, again, the standard direct material cost per unit is basically the standard direct materials priced. You multiply it by standard direct materials quantity. Alright. Yan. Di ba kanina, magkano yung na-compute natin sa material cost per unit? Di ba 3 pesos? So meaning, if you have 4 pounds daw, so malamang you have 12 pesos as your standard direct material cost. Napakadali, di ba? Meaning, the standard direct material cost per unit is 12 pesos. Ganyan lang, okay? Yan. Next. So in every 4 pounds, you have 12 pesos. Sorry, in every 1 pounds, you have 3 pesos. If 4 pounds to, so you have 12. Alright. Next naman. Next naman is all about direct labor price standard. So, direct labor price standard is the rate per hour that should be incurred for direct labor. Yan. So the standard is based on the current wage rate adjusted for anticipated changes such as cost of living adjustment included in many union contracts. So basically, in terms of the labor price standards, very important is your rate, your price, 'di ba? Yung sweldo mo, 'di ba? Ano yung mga sample ng direct labor price standard? So you have here employer payroll taxes, the fresh benefits, yan. So, yung sweldo ng empleyado nyo. Alright. Also, you have your direct labor quantity. So, meaning, in every na tinatrabaho mo, dapat may quantity yan. Because it is just time spent, no? Time that should be required to make 1 unit. So, ikaw, Jersey, no? Dapat sa per hour mo, may napoproduce ka na quantity. Yan yung required quantity mo. Kasi direct labor quantity. So this labor is especially critical if you are labor intensive. Yes. Let's say wala kayong machine, 'di ba? Naalala ko sa San Miguel, no? San Miguel, meron doon nagkatrabaho na inaano yung bote, inaano kung may ano tawag doon, kung may basura. So pabilisan 'yan, pabilisan, 'di ba? So kung mabilis ka, 'di ba? Yan, there are times na may nakakalusot pa din, 'di ba? So 'yun. So dapat nakakadami ka ng bote na i-check mo. Yan. So setting up standard allowance should be made for, of course, papahinga ka. Let's say may lunch break, may 15-minute break. Yan. Clean up. So, preventive maintenance, to set up the machine, to set up the downtime or machine downtime. All right. So, same kanina, just multiply it. It is now called direct labor price standard. So, the labor time. So, for example, ito yung ano mo, rate mo. Okay? So, $10 ang baba, no? 10 times 50. Malaki 10 times 50, 500 per day ka. Malaki din to. So, hourly wage rate is 750, COLA 0.25, pero taxes and fresh benefits you have. So, meaning you have 10. So, if you convert that in Philippine peso, you have 500 pesos per day. Malaki yan sa minimum wage, no? Minimum wage ngayon 400. Water lang, grabe. Alright, let's say dapat jersey, no? In every 10 pesos mo daw or $10 mo daw, nakaka-produce ka ng you have a 2.0 direct labor hours per unit. So in every per unit nakaka-produce dapat in every unit mo dapat 2 hours lang, no? Yan, to be effective. So actual product time is 1.5. Yung rest period mo dapat 0.20 lang. Yung setup and downtime mo ay 0.3. So basically, again, to set up that, dapat in every unit, 2 hours, no? Yan, 2 hours. So if you multiply that, that would now be your standard direct labor cost per unit. Okay? And so the rate, you multiply it by standard hours. So kanina, you have 10 as the cost per unit and you have 2.0 as quantity. So meaning, the standard direct labor cost per gallon is at 20 pesos. Yan. Or $20. So, yun lang. Napakadali lang naman, no? Napakadali lang naman ang setting up ng material, cost per unit, and also standard direct labor cost. Sir, sabi mo siya madaming formula. Later, no? Later pa yung madaming formula. When we are now in computing for the variance analysis, nandun na, okay? So, nandun na yung tinatawag na labor price variance, quantity variance, materials quantity variance, materials price variance. Later yan. So ito, sige, ito ay to be discussed na lang next meeting ha. So we will go now to, so don't worry, mamaya na muna to ha. What we will do now is basically, yan, we go to variance. Alright, so, by the way again, sa Monday ay babalikan ko natin tong manufacturing overhead. Alright, variance from standards. Alright, so ito na. The variance naman is basically the difference between total cost, total actual by the total standard cost. So, should be cost and your actual costs. So, if you compare it, okay, common sense. Cost to expenses to. If your actual cost is more than with your standard cost, favorable or unfavorable? Sige nga, if you analyze that. Sige, Teres. Denise. Sino ba yan?
Unfavorable.
There's
Denise.
Unfavorable.
Unfavorable. Very good. Because your actual cost is more than should be cost. Yeah, very, very good, Bridget. Unfavorable then. All right. If it is otherwise, meaning if the actual cost or actual expenses is less than your standard costing, of course, it is favorable. Why favorable? Mas maliit yung gastos mo compare sa should be cost. All right. Halimbawa, sir. So, yan yung expenses mo ang cost. All right. What if your actual, right? What if your actual, sorry, ano nangyari? What if your actual sales is more than your standard sales or forecasted sales? Favorable or unfavorable? Again, if your actual sales is more than your standard or budget sales, yan, very good. Favorable na yan. Baliktad na. Sa other term for standard costing or budget cost, budget lang, no? In sales, it is called forecasting. Forecast. Of course, if your actual naman is malaki sa forecast mo, favorable yon, di ba? Kaya wag kayo malito Baka malito kayo sa sa quiz nyo. Okay? Alright. So, yon, ito yung sinabi kanina ni Therese, di ba? If the actual cost exceed the standard costing, meaning mas malaki yung actual cost mo sa standard cost mo, Yes, it is favorable. Okay? Sorry, unfavorable, sorry. Unfavorable variances or variance suggest that too much was paid for materials and labor. Mas malaki yung nagastos mo sa materials and labor, or that you're inefficient in terms of your quantity, okay, using the materials and labor. Again, if it is otherwise naman, if mas maliit ang actual cost mo. Wait lang. Ba't yung fan ay wait lang. Grabe, hindi kaya ng fan talaga. Init, grabe. Yan, inano ko lang yung fan. Tutok sa akin. Hindi nakatutok. Alright. Kahit may aircon na, no? Alright, next. Favorable naman, if the actual cost is less than with your standard cost, it is favorable. Kasi mas maliit ang actual cost mo sa inyong tinatawag na standard costing. Okay? However, take note of the last sentence. However, be careful. Okay? All right. However, be careful, no? A favorable variance could be obtained by using inferior materials. So, kaya ka pala favorable kasi inferior materials ka, 'di ba? Maliit yung binayad mo sa materials, 'di ba? Hindi na dapat we should value more the quality. Okay? All right. And so to illustrate, for example, or since, okay, sige na nga, variable and overall. For example, ito na, no? If you have this actual, the actual cost is 44,500. And let's say you have naman standard costing of 42. As you notice here, it is, the variance here is 2,500. Favorable or unfavorable? If you have 44 as your actual, standard costing is 42. Favorable or unfavorable? Anyone?
Unfavorable.
Very good. Unfavorable
Unfavorable.
siya. Yes, unfavorable because your actual cost is more than your, yan. Next, yan. How do we analyze naman variances? Again, today I will focus more on direct materials muna and direct labor. So we will set aside muna later yung ating tinatawag na overhead. Alright. To properly interpret the significance of the variance, you must analyze the underlying factors. You analyze the variances. Alright. For each manufacturing cost element, a total dollar variance is computed. Alright. Di ba kanina, we discussed about price variance, materials price variance, and materials quantity variance. So, din na. Alright. Yan. So, ito na yon, no? Total variance. So, again, ito ay to be discussed next meeting. We will focus more on these two. You have total materials variance and you have total labor variance. Okay, we go to my Excel. Alright, yan. Ito, expect mo to ha. Ito yung gagawin natin. Yan. Expect. Kita niyo ba? Ha? Kita niyo ba? Hello?
Yes, sir. Kita po yung
Ayan. Kaya medyo madugo to. Ayan. Don't worry. Madali lang naman yan. Okay. Sa baba tayo. Alright. You have here your materials. Alright. Sorry. You have here your materials variance. Alright. So under materials variance, sige, you have here total pala. You have here your total materials variance. Okay, total materials variance. So under total materials variance, sabi, you have your material. So dalawa yun ha. A. Sige na lang. You have your, under A, you have your materials, price, variance. Alright. And also, letter B, you have also, by the way, no, in A, there are a lot of methods. So don't worry, I will mention you 3 methods on how to compute for materials price variance. Okay, 3 methods yun. Diba? Yan. And also, letter B, you have also your materials, quantity, variance. You have also 2 methods in terms of the variance. Yan. Also, same also in terms of your labor naman, no? Same lang yan. Ito na lang. You have here your total labor variance. So same pa din. Under labor variance, same pa din. You have you have also here. Pero ito ay tinatawag na labor price or labor rate variance. So you have here labor price or labor rate. Ito naman, labor price and labor. Yung iba ang tawag dyan ay labor quantity or labor efficiency variance. Sige, labor quantity na lang. Labor quantity variance. Nangyari. Labor quantity variance. Ayaw. Yan. Labor quantity variance. Later yan ha. Alright. Yan. So, ito ay sa Monday na. Alright. Indicate the formula in terms of direct materials and direct labor. So, we'll focus more on this muna. No? Alright. Total materials variance. Alright. Question. Sir, labor price variance or labor, same lang yan, Teris, no? Labor price or labor rate, same lang yan. Ay, same lang yung meaning, price or rate. Labor quantity, magkaiba yun, ha? Di ba? Magkaiba yung labor quantity sa labor price. Di ba? Again, there are, under materials variance, you have two, materials price variance and materials quantity variance. Magkaiba to. Under labor variance, you have also two, labor price and labor quantity. Okay? Kaya ba, Teris?
Hindi, sir, may isa pa po kayo term na ginamit sa labor quantity, yung
Labor
effective
efficiency.
something.
Sa ibang libro, ang tawag
Efficiency
ay
po.
labor efficiency variance. Yan. Okay. Nag-note ka ba? Alright, sige.
Thank
Okay, sige. Yan. Alright. Take note of the total materials variance. Take note of the formula. Alright, the formula para dito is actual quantity. We multiply it by the actual price. Di ano to? This is your actual price. Tama ba? Kasi actual, meaning actual quantity times actual price, you have your actual, diba? And you have also here standard quantity and standard price. Ito yung standard price natin. Sorry, standard cost, sorry. Diba? Nag-guess ba ako? Diba napakadali lang, no? In computing for the quantity total materials variance, the formula, sige, ano natin to para maintindihan. The formula daw is actual cost minus your standard cost. Alright. Yan yung formula. Alright. So, we have two formulas. Okay? So, number one, the formula is actual cost and standard cost. Of course, number two formula, or to ha, ano yung competition ng actual cost? Actual quantity. We multiply it by the actual price. Diba? Napakadali. No? Of course, how to compute for the actual cost? Actual quantity times actual price. We minus this by what? Standard quantity minus the standard price. Ano yan? That would be your standard cost. Alright. Di ba kanina, sabi ko kanina, how do we compute for the variance analysis, di ba? If the actual cost is more than the standard cost, it is unfavorable. If otherwise, if the actual cost is less than the standard price or cost, it is favorable, di ba? Ano lang yan, ha? Alright, and go back to our, yan. So, ano yun din? SQ. Mali ba ako? Sige, thank you, Dane. So, it should be multiply. Sige, multiply to. Thank you. Hindi ko napansin. Alright, multiply. Okay? Yan. So, for example, di ba? For example, in completing the order for 1,000 gallons of it, so we will continue kanina, no? Sonic used 4,200 of direct purchase at the cost of 3.10. Alright, so magkano ang ating, sige, magkano yung ating actual quantity? Yung actual quantity daw ay, sorry, yung actual quantity daw ay 4,200. We multiply it, ay magkano ang actual price? The actual price daw ay 3.10, di ba? 42 times 3.10. So we multiply it by 3.10. Okay? Minus standard quantity. Given naman, ito na. Standard quantity is 4,000. Diba? Times 3. So 4,000. Okay? 4,000 times 3. Yan. So ilan to? Copy na lang ha. 1020. Malamang mas malaki yung ating actual cost sa standard cost. So the answer here is at 1,020. Pwede nyo gawin nyo sa bahay, no? Ngayon, pwede nyo gawin. I-try nyo. Okay? Kung bakit siya unfavorable. Alright, wait lang. Ito matawag. Yan. Alright. So meaning, you have a 1,020 unfavorable. Yan. Alright. Yan yung, di ba napakadali lang naman. Pag yan ay total materials variance. Again, under total material variance, you have material price variance and you have materials quantity variance. Sige, wag na yung wag na yung number 2. Ito na lang. Okay. Yan. So, given po ba yung 4,003? Given siya. Given. Yan. Given siya, di ba? Yan, 4, given siya. Hindi na nailagay. Di ba kanina? 4,000 yon. Tapos 3 pesos. Diba? Pero given naman yan. Given naman yung standard quantity and the standard price. Yan. Given naman yan, general ha. Sabi naman doon kung magkano yung standard mo. Alright, next. Under material variance, of course, you have now your material price variance. So, under the, ito yung total. Okay? Ito yung total. Pero, under that, you have materials price variance. So, you need also to know the formula. Okay? Take note of the formula. Actual quantity times actual price minus actual quantity times standard price. That would be your total materials price variance. Alright. So I will teach you of one formula. Okay. So number 1, you can use this, no? You can use this. Number 1, ano yung kanina? Actual price. You multiply it by the actual quantity. Ano to? That would be your actual cost. Okay? We multiply it by what? Actual. Sige, para magmalito. Pwede ko itong actual quantity muna unahin natin. Yan. We minus what? Actual quantity. We multiply it by standard price. Yan ang isang formula to compute for material price variance. May pangalawa pa, no? To compute for the material price variance. Ano to? 'Di ba? Iyan ay actual price. Okay? Sa example na to, ano yung parehas? 'Di ba parehas yung actual quantity? Tama? Okay, algebra tayo. 'Di ba? Algebra. Okay. Materials price variance. We need to know the price. Kasi nga, materials price variance. Ano gagawin natin? So, just minus AP minus SP. We multiply it by the actual quantity. Again, there are two formulas, but either way, no? Parang CVP analysis, di ba kanina, kahapon, we discussed about long cut and shortcut. Same also as the price variance. You can do number 1, you can do number 2, or you can do number 3. Later, no? Yung number 3, pinakamadali sa lahat. Later, sabi ko sa mga bakit. Okay. Again, the formula for the material price variance is AP times AP minus AQ times SP. Alright. Number 2 formula na pwedeng gawin nyo ay ito ay price variance. So, if it is price variance, the difference between your price, okay? AP minus SP. Sir, bakit AQ? Kasi nga, tinan mo dito, sa formula, ano yung parehas? AQ. You multiply it by the AQ. By the way, yung number 2, pwede mo siya ma-derive using the algebra. Okay? Alright. Di ba given na kanina? Magkano yung AQ? Di ba yung AQ ay 4,200. Saan galing yun? Di ba ito yun? Yan. Magkano yung AP? Di ba AP ay 3.10 times 3.10. Okay? Minus, magkano yung AQ? O, given naman yung AQ. 4,200. We multiply by the SP. Anong SP? Di ba 3? Yan. Again, saan galing yan, sir? Di ba ito yan galing? Ito siya galing, ha? Alright, inanong ko lang. Dinerive ko lang. Alright, magkano to? Sige, kayo nga. 4 to times 3, malamang yan ay unfavorable. Ilan? 4,200. Ilan? Sige, ako na nga mag-compute. Unfavorable to. 0.1 times 4,2. 420 ba? Unfavorable. Yes, there is. So, the answer here is at 420 unfavorable. Alright. Take note ha, or to ha, or, ito ha, pwedeng number 1 or pwedeng number 2 ang gagawin nyo. Hindi naman yan required. Or to ha, or. Yan. Kasi baka marito kayo, baka ginawa nyo pa ay number 2 ginawa nyo pa. Wag na. Pwede naman pag natapos mo na yung 1, wag mo nang gawin yung number 2. Bahala kayo. Pipili lang kayo kung anong gusto nyong gawin na formula. Yan. To check kung parehas, dapat parehas yan siya 4 to ha. Baka mali yung sinasabi mo. Alright. 3.10 we minus to 3.00 times 4,200. Parehas ba? We multiply it by 4,200. Parehas ba? 420? Try nyo nga.
Yes, sir. 420.
Okay. 420 unfavorable. Anong gusto nyo? 1 or number 2? Di ba madali yung number 2? Diba? Alamin nyo lang na price variance yan. So basically, the difference between your price. Alright? Yun naman pangalawa, ayun naman una, tara i-memorize mo yung formula. Okay, mamaya na. Mas madali pa dyan. Alright, yan. Next. Materials quantity variance. 420 ba? Tama. 420 unfavorable. Alright, next. Parang namamalot ako ah. Sabi init. Next job naman, materials quantity variance. So you have here, materials quantity variance. So dalawa din yung formula niya na pwede niyong gawin. So under materials quantity. Wait lang. Para wag kayong malito. Yan. Para pantay lang. So you have here materials quantity and you have here, sorry. And you have here materials quantity. And also you have labor and also labor quantity variance. Alright, sige. Okay. What is the formula again of your materials quantity variance? Ito yan, di ba? So the formula here is, yan, anong formula? Actual quantity, okay? Actual quantity, we multiply it by the SP. Yan. Minus what? Standard quantity, we multiply it by the standard price. Alright, parehas ba? Yes. Alright, yan. Ito yung formula to compute for your materials quantity variance. Alright. Again, we will again or, yeah, pwede, or, ito ay tinatawag na quantity variance. So, pag ito ay quantity variance, so basically, that's your quantity. Tama ba? Okay, algebra ulit. Ano yung magkaparehas? Diba SP? So meaning, quantity variance is basically actual quantity, alright, minus standard quantity, we multiply it by the standard price. Nagets ba ako? Be honest, nagets ba ako?
Yes po, sir.
Alright, sige. Kasi nga, quantity variance to, quantity meaning the difference in your quantity. That's why, actual quantity minus standard quantity, you multiply it by the standard price. So, about standard price, di ba? Tignan mo yung formula niya. Ano yung parehas? Standard price. O, algebra ulit, you multiply it by the standard price. Okay, sige. Okay. Next, sige nga, kung tama naman yung sinasabi mo. Actual quantity, magkano? Di ba, given naman, 4,200. Okay? Magkano yung standard price? Standard price ay 3 pesos. Okay? Minus standard quantity. Ito yan. 4,000, di ba? Yan. So, 4,000. Okay? Times magkano yung standard price? 3 pesos din. Yan. So, ilan to? Sige nga. 600 ba? Yeah, 600. Favorable or unfavorable? Malamang mas malaki ang actual, di ba? Very good, Therese. Unfavorable. Okay. So, meaning it is unfavorable. Ayos yung spelling mo, Therese. Alright, so this is at 600 unfavorable. Okay. And 600 unfavorable. Alright, sige nga. Ito naman sa baba, kung parehas, actual ko, at di ba pinakamadaling number 2? The 4,200 minus 4,000, we multiply it by standard price of 3 pesos. And you have here, malamang, ay 600 din to. Unfavorable. Tama ba? Dapat parehas na 600. Yan. So, you have here 600. Diba? Napakadali. Alright. Sige nga, sir, kung tama ba na 1,020 talaga ang materials variance mo. 420 plus 600, ilan? Parehas unfavorable. Ilan yan?
1,020?
1,020 unfavorable. Tama ba? 1,020 unfavorable. The answer is yes. Okay?
Yes.
Again, the materials variance is basically composed of material price variance and materials quantity variance. Dapat, pag inad mo to parehas, dapat parehas siya sa materials price variance. Nagets ba ako? Nagets ba ako? Alright.
Yes.
So, sir, in the board exam, kung ang tanong lang naman is how much is the total materials variance, no need to compute for the two. Just have actual cost minus standard cost. Yan na mismo. No? Pinapahirap pa sarili, di ba? Di ba, Jersey, no? Ang tanong is magkano ang material variance. No? Ang ginawa mo, Jersey, ay na-compute ka pa ng material price, na-compute ka pa ng materials quantity. No need na. Di ba? Bakit? Pag inad mo to parehas, dapat 1020, no? Sayang ng oras. Nagets ba ako?
Yes po, sir.
Pero kung ang
Yes
tanong
po,
sa
sir.
board exam ay, magkano ang material price? Yan. Magkano ang materials quantity variance? Yan. So, meaning, kailangan mo itong i-break yung 1020. Okay. So if you break pa lang yung 1020, napatunayan natin na ang 1020 ay composed of what? Materials, price, variance na 6,420 unfavorable, and also composed of materials, quantity, variance of 600 unfavorable. To break the 1,020. Yan. Nagets ba ako? Saan galing yung 600 and 420? nasa baba sa ating computation. Nagigets ba?
Yes po, sir.
Go. Alright. Okay. Sir, may unit po ba yan? Like, sana, anong unit? Cost to, ha? Cost. This is cost. Why cost?
Sir,
Di ba?
nato
Cost to, ha? Cost. For 20 cost, 600 cost. 1020 cost. Bakit cost? Di ba? May price tayo dito. Standard price, actual price. Diba? Hindi siya units. Cost. Okay? Peso. Philippine peso.
pesos lahat, sir.
Yes, pesos yan. Yan. Diba? Okay? Sige, next. Mayroon pang tinatawag na step number 3. Sorry. Mayroon pang number 3 na for me ito pinakamadali sa lahat. Ito ba? Ito ba yung memorize nyo? Yeah? Ano nga yan? Pag sinabing material price variance, actual quantity times actual price, ano nga yan? Standard quantity ba? Standard price. Di ba ganon? Ano nga? Ito madali lang maintindihan. Pero may number 3 pa na mas madali. Oh, ano yung number 3? Okay, number 3 formula is basically ganito lang. Okay, nung ako ay nasa college pa, ito yung ginagamit ko. As in, sobrang dali nito. Alright, so paano yon? Other formula. Other formula. Okay, number 3, gawin nyo muna ganito ha. Ano ba ginawa ko sa taas? Sa baba, dito sa baba. Okay. So, gawin ko muna ay, ito ha. Isang step na gawin nyo ay actual quantity, we multiply it by the actual price. Okay? Ano to? Actual cost to. Alright. So, lagay nyo sa left side. Next. Lagay nyo rin dito sa pinakadulo ay standard quantity times standard price. Alright? Ayan na. Di ba madali lang? Yung isa actual, yung isa ay standard. Lagay mo sa gitna. No? Ano yung extreme left mo? Di ba? Extreme left mo ay actual quantity, di ba? Gets? Times, sa kabila naman, ano yung extreme left? Di ba? Standard price. Nagets ba ako? O, gano'n lang gawin nyo. Napakadali lang. Nagets ba ako? Hello?
Yes po, sir.
Okay, again, ilagay mo sa left side yung actual muna. Alright. Lagay mo sa left yung actual muna. Actual quantity times actual price. Sa kabila naman, standard quantity, standard price. Alright. After that, sa gitna, ano yung extreme left? Di ba actual quantity? Actual quantity. Ano yung extreme left mo sa kabila? Standard price. After that, minus mo to. Alright. Minus. Sa gitna. Minus yan ha. Alright. Add minus to. Ano ba napapansin nyo? Ano ba ginawa ko sa taas? Ayan. Ano ba napapansin nyo dito? 'Di ba itong dalawang ito, anong tawag dito? Nagets nyo ba ako? Actual quantity times actual price minus actual quantity times, ano yan?
Yung material price variance.
Very good. Ito ay
Material price
materials price
variance.
variance. Tama. 'Di ba? So, lagyan natin ng kulay dilaw. Alright. Sa kabila naman, actual quantity times standard price minus standard quantity times standard price. Anong tawag dyan?
Materials quantity variance.
Very good. That's your materials quantity variance. Ito ba yung madali lang?
Yes, sir. Mas nag-gets.
Mas madali ito. Ito yung ginawa ko nang ako ay nung college pa. Alright. Kulay green tayo. Diba? Mas madali, Brits? Yan. Alright. Yan. Napakadali. Yun na, yung answer mo. Alright, gawin natin. Actual quantity times standard price. So, ilan yun? Ito na yun, di ba? Kapihin mo lang to. Okay? 4,000. Alright? 4,200 minus, times 3.10. Kapihin ko na lang nga to, di ba? Ito lang naman yun eh. Di ba? Di ba? Pasin nyo ba? Kapihin natin to. Ito lang yun naman yun. Alright. Di ba? 42 times 310. Ito yun, ha? Sa kabila naman, ay ito yon. Actual quantity times standard price ay ito. That would be the material price variance. Sa kabila naman, ito lang yun eh. Gets? Alright. Yan. Ano bang ginawa ko sa taas? Sorry ah. Yun nga, same na same na. Alright, so meaning if you add both 420 plus 1020, by the way ha, if you add both of this, anong tawag doon? That would be your
Total variance.
420. Sorry. That's now your 1,020 unfavorable. Madali lang ba to? Nagets ba ako?
Yes, sir.
Anong gusto nyo? 1, number 2, number 3.
Number 3, sir.
Ako number 3 din, no? Nandiyan na lahat. Alright. Number 3, jersey. Ganon. Yan. Di ba? Kung wala ito, malamang jersey, memorize ka pa. Ano nga yung material price, actual quantity? Basta again, no? Gawin nyo muna sa left, yung actual. Gawin nyo sa kabila, yung standard. Tapos sa gitna, ano yung pinaka-extreme left? Di ba? Actual quantity. Ano yung extreme right naman? SP times SP. Yan. Alright. Sa ibang libro may ganito ba? Meron pero hindi sa ang laging nire-discuss ay 1 and number 2 lang. Yung number 3 nasa QYD lang 'yan, no? Yan. 600. So, 'di ba 1020? So tama, no? All right, yan. Ito 'yun, no? Nasa left ay ano nangyari? Nasa left ay actual quantity times actual price. Okay? Sa kabila naman standard. So, nasa gitna ay yung actual quantity mo kasi yung nasa left mo. And also actual price mo. SP mo, extreme right, SP. Ganun na. Okay? So, yung answer mo dito na 420 and 600, you have 1020. Sir, iba-iba po ba? Like, ganyan din kaparehas sa direct labor. Okay, kaya, wala na, hindi na kayo mahihirapan sa direct labor. Alright. Iba lang siya based sa ano. Wait lang kailangan ko na tubig. Iba siya sa ano, iba lang siya sa direct labor. Sa overhead. Wait lang. Kailangan ko nang inom ng tubig. No? Yan. Sabi ni Blitzer, pares ba yan sa direct labor? Yes. Pero sa overhead, iba na siya. Okay? Yan. Alright. So, what causes the variances of the two? Okay? What causes of the variances? Of course, pag material price variance, pag yan ay may unfavorable or favorable variance, it's basically the variance may be beyond the control of purchasing. Yan nga, kasi nga ang in charge sa material price variance are purchasing department, 'di ba? Such as pero yung inflation, wala siyang control niyan, 'di ba? Yung inflation or any other na beyond that, wala siyang control. Alright. How about naman material quantity variance? Sino yung responsible? The production department. Kasi nga, yan yung dapat quantity na pinoproduce mo. Alright. Next. Yan. Labor variance naman. As you notice, di ba, para sa parehas, ito naman, hindi na quantity, actual hours na. Yeah? Di ba, Teris, no? Actual rate. Pwede naman price, pero rate na kasi yan yung rate mo in terms of your salary. So, same na same lang. Same, di ba? Material labor, sorry, stas yan. Labor variance, of course, yung actual, ano man tawag? Actual cost pa din. Actual cost minus the standard cost. Pero ang formula na niyan ay actual hours. Okay? We multiply by the actual rate. We minus it with standard hours. We multiply it by the standard rate. 'Di ba? Same na same lang. Yan, ganun din. Same din siya sa, for example, yan, copy ko na ito sa baba. For example, yung actual hours mo daw ay, given to ha, 2,100. Okay? Tapos, 9.80 is your actual rate. 9.80 is your actual rate. We minus it by standard hours mo ay 2,000. Standard hours mo ay 2,000. We multiply it by standard rate. Standard rate daw ay 10. Given yan ha. Standard rate ay 10. Copy ko na lang ha. Magkano yung ating, ayan, 580. 580 unfavorable. Pwede naman i-try niya. Try nyo ngayon. Compute nyo. Dapat yan ay 580 unfavorable. So later, we will find out, no, kung magkano ang labor, rate, variance, and also labor efficiency or labor usage or labor quantity. Same na same yan ha. Quantity variance. Yan. So meaning, i-breakdown natin yung 580, 'di ba? So magkano siya diyan sa labor rate, magkano yung labor quantity. Okay? Yan. Next, labor price variance. Same na same, 'di ba? 'Di ba, Brits, no? As I notice, same na same siya sa material price variance. Of course, number 1. Okay? Number 1 is the formula here again. Okay? Actual hours. We multiply it by the actual rate. Diba? We minus it with actual hours. Diba? Times your standard rate. Yan. So, ano yung formula again? So, kanina. Okay. Or, pwede naman or. Diba? Or, diba? Or, since ito ay tinatawag na rate, so meaning, the difference in terms of your rate. Diba? Actual rate, we minus it with the standard rate, and we multiply it by what? Since anong parehas dyan? Di ba actual hours? So, actual hours natin. Yan. Sige nga. Okay. Actual hours. Magkano actual hours? So, sa taas ha, 2,100. Di ba? We multiply it by the actual rate of 9.80. Alright. Minus actual hours. The actual hours, di ba, 2,000. Okay? We multiply it by the standard rate. Standard rate is 10. So, magkano ito? Kayo nga. Ito na lang. Para for the purpose of time.
580 pa rin.
580 ba? Hindi. Hindi siya 580. Magkaiba na siya ha. Tignan mo yung formula. Actual hours times actual rate minus actual hours times standard rate. Sorry.
Sir,
Mali ako.
bakit yung
Pareho
1
Sorry.
pala yun.
Mali ako. 2-1 dapat to. Yan. Ilan? Tama ba na 420? Favorable?
420.
Yan. So, meaning, you have a 420 favorable. Ay, sorry. So, you have here 420 favorable. So, malamang ito ay 420 favorable. So, you have here 420 favorable. Alright. Gets? Gets ba ako? Alright. So, sa baba naman. So, actual rate. So, actual rate mo, for sure, ito ay 9.80. We minus it with 10. We multiply it by 2,100. Tama ba? 420. Dapat parehas yan ha. Tama? 420. Tama? Yan. 420 favorable. Alright, sige, Bridge, tama. Alright, so yan. That would be the labor price variance. Alright, diba to? Ito nga, kailangan natin to ano, para ma-highlight natin to. Yan. Alright, sa baba naman, you have here, should be letter boy. Yan. Next. So you have also here labor quantity variance, labor efficiency variance, labor usage variance. Same lang yung meaning niya, ha? Alright, so ano yung formula again sa number 1? So same sa baba, no? Same sa materials quantity. So basically you have actual hours. We multiply it by the standard rate. Alright? We minus it with standard, sorry. We minus it with the standard hours. We multiply it by the standard rate. Yan. So yan. Or since ito ay tinatawag na labor quantity variance, that would be the difference between your hours. So malamang actual hours to. We minus it with the standard hours. We multiply it by the standard rate. And sige nga, kung parehas. So actual hours natin is, ay, ayan. Actual hours natin ay 2,100. Diba? We multiply it by the standard rate of 10 pesos. Okay? Minus standard hours of what? Standard hours of wala, sa taas yan. Standard hours of 2,000. Okay? 2,000. We multiply it by the standard rate of 10. Okay? Alright, thank you, Therese. So this is 100, tama, 1,000. Favorable or unfavorable?
1,000
This
favorable.
unfavorable. Unfavorable ba? Yes, unfavorable. So meaning you have a 1,000 unfavorable. And so you have here 1,000 unfavorable. Yan, di ba? Alright. Sa baba naman. So since you have here your cost, alright, so actual hours. So basically, your actual hours is 2,100. Alright? We minus it with 2,000. We multiply it by 10. 10 ba? Yes, 10. Tama ba? 1,000 unfavorable din. So, 1,000 unfavorable. So, para sa parehas. Di ba? Napakadali. Yan. That would be your labor quantity. Alright. Okay. Meron pa din number 3. Sige, mamaya. Yan. So, meaning 1,000 unfavorable. Yan. So, labor price variance. Oh, since ito ay 1,000 na, malamang your labor quantity variance here is at 1,000 unfavorable. Oh, take note ha. 1,000 unfavorable. So, meaning, ito ay 1,000 unfavorable. Sa kabila naman ay 420 favorable. That's why you have here 580 unfavorable. Alright. Number 3. Okay. Pwede naman yung number 3 using the formula. Okay. Number 3 using the formula. Ano yung una? Formula. Alright. So, gagawin natin ay sa kabila. Actual hours. We multiply it by the actual rate. Alright. Sa kabila naman ay lalagyan mo ng standard hours. We multiply it by the standard rate. Okay? After that, sa gitna, ano ba to? Pwede naman. Sa gitna naman ay, ano yung pinaka-extreme left? Actual hours. Tama? Minus standard rate. Ano yung pinaka-extreme right? Standard rate. So, we put here standard rate. Nagets ba ako? Sa galing na sa ano? Gets ba? Okay. Yeah, yes?
Yes po, sir.
Alright, so after that, we minus it. Okay? So minus, copy ko na lang nga to. Minus. Yan, minus. And you have here minus. Alright, again, ano to? Itong dalawang to. Diba? Yan yung tinatawag na labor rate variance. Sabi ko na lang ha. Tinatamad na, no? Alright, that would be your labor rate variance and labor quantity variance. Nagets ba? Hello?
Opo, sir.
Alright, so copy na lang natin to. Ito lang naman yan, no? Copy natin to. Ito lang naman yan. Alright. And so if you have this information, you have here 1,000 unfavorable. That would be your total, what? Total labor variance of 1,000. Sa to galing? 1,000 ba? 580 pala. 580 sa kaling 1,000. 580 unfavorable. Alright. 1,000 unfavorable minus 420 favorable. So, mas malaki yung unfavorable mo. That's why it is you have a 580 unfavorable. Don't worry, I'll give you naman this Excel ha. Kahapon ba pala Denise, na ano mo yung ano, na yung sinad kong Excel? Na-receive, di
Opo,
ba?
sir. Nasa
Opo,
JC, GC po.
Okay, sige. Alright, yan. So, you have here, yan. Di ba? Ito yung pinakamadali. AR times AH times AR. Tapos SH times SR. Oh, mag-alas 9 na pala. Tagal natin, no? Yan sa gitna. Sorry. Sa gitna is anong extreme left, AH and SR. Ganun lang. Okay? Alright. What causes the labor variances? Of course, what causes it is basically, of course, the labor price variance, no? Yun yung cause niya is basically because of that will result in the paying worker higher salary, misallocation of workers, no? When the companies are not unionized, there is a higher likelihood of these variances. And of course, all of these are the responsibility of the production. Okay? Labor quantity variance. Ito yung Teresa. It is also called labor efficiency variance. Yan. Alright. Sige. So, next meeting, tomorrow, sorry, on Monday. By the way, Friday ha, we will meet on Friday. I will discuss about joint costs. Pwede naman siguro by Friday, I will discuss ng the one way para hindi bitin, no? Para hindi maputol. Sige, by Friday, I will discuss, we will continue naman on Friday. No? Sir, kapag mataas po ang standard sa actual, yes, favorable yan, general. Okay? Sa Friday na lang, we will, para hindi maputol. So, this Friday, I will discuss about one-way, two-way, three-way, four-way of standard costing. Then on Monday, I will discuss joint cost and just in time. Okay? So far, any question? Madali lang ba standard costing? Madali lang
sir,
standard costing. Okay?
sir.
Yes, Therese.
Yung
Therese.
consultation po ng midterms.
O nga pala, hindi ko pa nagagawa. Not to worry. Sana this weekend, no? Or bago kayo mag-finals. Okay?
Yung sa quiz, di ba sir, may mga correction yun, sir? Hey.
No problem. No problem,
Okay.
no problem. Alright, what else? Ano bang school mo dati, Therese? Ano bang school? Di ba transfer ka?
Opo.
Anong dati mong school?
UP po.
AUP. Sa Adventist University.
Opo.
Ano ba doon? Maganda ba ang ano doon? Accountancy?
Opo. Sobrang strict, sobrang ano
Sobrang
po doon.
stricto.
Yung passing grade po namin, 86 po para mag-continue sa accounting. Tapos
Wow,
zero base
grabe.
din.
Oh, grabe. Yan. Tapos mas maganda yung ano niya. Mas maganda yung San Beda Alabang, no? Diba?
Ano, sir, kasi Alabang base na ako kaya ako nag-transfer.
Alam mo isa ba? Okay. Alabang base. Yan. Hindi ka nagsisisi, no? Magaling ba ano doon? Magaling yung mga professor? Sa,
Opo, magaling rin po, sir. Magaling rin po.
yun. Alabang base na pala kayo. Kala ko taga Laguna kayo ni Sir Vin Lubalyada.
Hindi po ako. Ako po.
Oo nga
Kasi may
pala, oh.
family.
Oo nga pala, family ka na pala, oh. Kaya mas malapit na 'yun, 'di ba?
Opo, kasi pag
Kaysa
nag-first
pero taga, 'di ba taga Alabang kayo, 'di ba? Ay taga ano kayo? Laguna.
Laguna po.
Sa
Opo.
Santa Rosa?
Opo,
Ay, hindi.
nagtatanong rin po ako sa mga prof ko minsan sa UP, nanggugulo ko kung tama ba yung
Ano 'yan?
pagsabi.
Ano 'yan?
Nagtatanong din po ako sa mga prof ko dun dati tungkol sa
Mm.
account. Minsan pag may homework, miss, paano po ito, ganun. Nagtatanong.
Oo. Oo. Pero ano dun, 'di ba? Strict daw sa Adventist.
Opo, bawal po pork doon po. I mean, wala
Bawal.
pong inside the campus. Wala pong meat.
Oo nga pala kasi mga ano sila sa Badista, no? Ikaw rin ba? Hindi.
Ay, hindi po Catholic po ako.
Catholic ka. Pwede naman yung ano, pwede naman pala Catholic na mag-aral doon, no?
Opo, pwede naman po.
Kaya lang, paano yun? Pag ano sila, may mga ano yan, Bible study, ganun. Or iba,
Opo,
sorry.
tsaka po may attendance din po sa may attendance po kami sa church po.
Amatan. Paano yan? Di required ka magsimba sa kanila.
Pero okay lang naman po.
Oo, sa bagay. Alam ko, dalawa kayo dito ang transfer, di ba? Si Dane din, di ba? Dane? Saan kang school dati? Saan ba si Dane? Alam ko, dalawa kayo itong transfer, eh. Anyway, wala si Dane. Anyway, sige. Yun yan. Alaysa, yun yung sagot. Yes, Excel, no? I will send the Excel. Okay, don't worry. Sige. Sorry, medyo ano tayo ngayon, no? Medyo mahaba tayo ngayon, no? Usually tayo ay 1.5 hours lang, di ba? Almost 2 hours pala tayo. Okay. Sige. If none, see you all again on Friday. Okay? Yan.
Salamat, sir.
Salamat. Sige. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you po.
Alright. Sige.
Salamat.
Bye-bye.
Thank you po,
Sige.
sir.
Sige. Bye-bye.
Friday, sir.
Sige.
Sir.
Sige. Bye-bye. Yung mga ano,
Same
pwede
link po,
kayong,
sir, sa Friday.
same link. Yung mga ano, yung first year, pwede kayong umattend. Jersey. Pwede pa.
Okay,
Anytime.
sir.
Okay.
Thank you po.
Sige. Thank you. Bye-bye.